Shifting gears now to an American detained in Russia, basketball star Brittney Griner. The U.S. is now stepping up its push for access to Griner, the State Department saying, quote, "We have repeatedly asked for consular access to those detained in Russia and have consistently been denied access." Griner's legal team says they know Griner is okay right now. But what if Russia extends her stay, holds her even longer? Can the U.S. get her out? Joining me now, legal analyst Adrienne Lawrence. Adrienne, thanks for joining me. How do we get Brittney Griner out legally?
Well, I think that is something that we are kind of wondering, what can we do now as well? Right now, we can either let the political system, or excuse me, I should say the legal system in Russia play out as Griner is being held in pretrial detainment at this time. And after the investigation concludes, there will be a trial date set and essentially the process will proceed. Or, and it may require a combination of both of these, we let the diplomatic process play out, where the United States tries to engage with Russia and trying to get opportunities to open doors by allowing Griner to return to the United States.
Yeah, I'm going to get to the diplomatic question in a moment here, but what do we know about the Russian legal system? I mean, we make assumptions based on our own experiences in this country. Is it fair? You've said yourself before, she's essentially a political prisoner.
Well, you know, it seems to be very much the case, but we really don't know necessarily at that point. We definitely do know that when it comes to this Russian legal system here, that she has been provided with a legal team, even though she has not been given access to the U.S. consular, that they do have about 2 months generally to put together their investigation to bring their case against Griner. In the event that they would like to extend time, they could do that as well, which they tend to do for complex cases. After their investigation concludes, a trial date will be set. There may be an opportunity where the prosecution offers something that's in the form of a plea agreement, as it would be here, but there's a Russian equivalent where she could possibly plead to lesser charges and then proceed with trial. The thing about the Russian system that is very different from the system here in the United States is their conviction rate. You're looking at around 99.75% conviction, less than 1% acquittals, which pretty much means that if there's a case brought against you, there is a very good chance to almost certainty that you will be convicted.
And then the question just becomes, how long is the sentence? Very quickly, what about the diplomatic path? It seems to me with a hot war going on just to the south of Russia and the United States backing Ukraine, there aren't a lot of diplomatic levers the U.S. has available to them.
No, there are not, but there is the possibility of a few. As we've known in the past with the two former Marines who are being held in the United States, I believe Paul Whelan and Trevor Reed, that there was some talk possibly of the Russians being willing to trade for two Russians who we happen to have in our custody. A gentleman named Konstantin Yaroshenko, who has been arrested here in the United States back in 2011 for drug smuggling, and then a man named Victor Bout, who is a notorious arms dealer, kind of known as the Merchant of Death. Those two individuals are in U.S. custody, and there has been a lot of talk, so to speak, or reports that the Russians would like those individuals back. And so in the event that there can be something negotiated or worked out, you know, it might be in the best interest of the United States without, of course, transgressing this ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine.
Well, that does not sound like an even trade. Even so, legal analyst Adrienne Lawrence, thank you very much for that perspective.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.